Red and blue lights flash as Maya Ellison, a CIA agent, faces a sinister setup by crooked cops in Crestwood. With a hidden tracker and a fearless heart, she's playing their game to win. Can she dismantle their empire? Dive in now. The night in Crestwood, Ohio, was still like a forgotten painting, with only the flickering streetlights casting their glow on empty roads. Maya Ellison, 34, sat behind the wheel of her sleek black SUV, her slender hands resting lightly on the steering wheel. She had just wrapped up a long day, her sharp brown eyes glancing at the dashboard clock. Well past midnight, a quiet sense of relief stirred within her. Her covert work in this town was nearing its end, everything falling into place for a clean exit. As she slowed at a silent intersection, the glow of a stop sign reflected in her view. Maya, with instincts honed over years, came to a complete stop, checking her rear-view mirror before making a left turn. Mere seconds later, red and blue lights flashed behind her, accompanied by a siren's wail that tore through the night. Maya's heart didn't race. She was trained for moments like this. She glanced in the mirror, spotting a patrol car closing in, its headlights casting long shadows across her dashboard. With the calm of a practiced reflex, Maya pulled over, turned off the engine, and reached into the glove compartment for her driver's license and registration. In the mirror, she saw two officers step out of the patrol car, their movements deliberate. Derek Larson, 40, tall and imposing with a square-jawed face radiating authority, led the way. Colin Hayes, 37, shorter and stocky, followed close behind. Both wore the navy blue uniforms of the Crestwood Central Police Department, their badges glinting under the streetlights. "Good evening, ma'am," Derek said, his voice carrying the practiced weight of authority. He leaned down, shining a flashlight through the window, its beam sweeping across Maya's face and the car's interior. "Do you know why I pulled you over?" Maya kept her expression neutral, meeting his gaze directly. "No, officer," she replied, her voice steady. "I wasn't speeding, and I stopped fully at the intersection." Derek's lips curled into a faint, patronizing smile. "Actually, you didn't stop at that sign," he said. "That's a traffic violation." Maya's brow furrowed slightly, but she remained composed. "I'm certain I stopped, officer," she said, her tone firm but not confrontational. Derek cut her off, his voice hardening. "License and registration." Maya handed over the documents, her movement slow to avoid escalating the situation. Derek examined them, his eyes lingering on the license. "Ohio plates, local address," he muttered, then louder. "You live around here?" Maya nodded. Suddenly, Colin, standing near the rear of the vehicle, called out, "Hey, Larson, you should see this." Derek handed back the documents, ordering, "Stay in the vehicle," before walking toward Colin. In the mirror, Maya saw them whispering, their glances exchanged with calculated intent. A cold sensation ran through her, not fear, but the keen instinct of someone who'd faced danger before. She knew this wasn't a random stop. A trap was being set, and Maya, though her true identity remained hidden, was ready to face it. The cold instinct stirring in Maya Ellison's chest as she watched Derek Larson and Colin Hayes whisper near the rear of her SUV wasn't fear, but the honed vigilance of someone who'd navigated dozens of dangerous missions. Crestwood, Ohio, under the dim glow of streetlights, had transformed into a stage where Maya, 34, knew she was being drawn into a carefully staged drama. Through the rear-view mirror, she saw Colin point at the trunk, his tone feigning surprise, while Derek nodded, a smug glint in his eyes. They returned, Derek approaching her window with a now stern expression. "Step out of the vehicle, ma'am," he ordered, his voice icy. "We have reason to suspect you're in possession of illegal substances." Maya furrowed her brow, her voice still calm. "Illegal substances?" she repeated, as if testing their reaction. "You're mistaken." Derek smirked, pointing toward the rear of the vehicle. "We'll see who's mistaken." Colin, standing by the now open trunk, held up a small bag of white powder with exaggerated flair, like an actor on a stage. "Look at this, Larson. What do we have here?" he said, his voice dripping with theatrics. Maya glanced at the bag, her heart beating steadily, but her mind racing to piece things together. That bag wasn't in her car when she left home 3 miles ago. This was a setup meticulously planned, and she knew she wasn't a random target. Maya's composure wasn't happenstance. It was a product of 10 years as a CIA operative, where she learned to read people like an open book. She recognized that Derek and Colin's confidence wasn't mere arrogance. It was a certainty of men accustomed to manipulating the system. But they didn't know that Maya Ellison wasn't just an ordinary woman driving through Crestwood. She was a trained warrior, with a mind as sharp as a blade and an observational knack that could spot a misaligned pin in a darkened room. Every glance, every gesture from the two officers was cataloged in her mind, like a meticulous cinematographer. She sensed the injustice behind their actions, a familiar stain she'd seen elsewhere, where skin color became a reason to be targeted. "Got anything to say?" Derek asked, his smile now betraying a cruel edge. Maya offered a faint smile, fearless, carrying a subtle challenge. "I'll speak when I need to," she replied, her voice soft but sharp. Colin stepped forward, handcuffs gleaming in his hand. "You're under arrest for possession and intend to distribute narcotics," he declared, cuffing her with a smug smirk. As the cuffs tightened, Maya didn't resist, but her eyes locked onto Derek's, as if to say, "You just made the biggest mistake of your lives." Inside, she felt a smoldering fire, not anger but resolve. They thought she was easy prey, but Maya Ellison was a hunter, and the game had just begun. As a patrol car rolled toward the Crestwood Central Police Department, she sat in the back, silent, her mind already plotting her next move. The patrol car cruised down Crestwood, Ohio's deserted streets, carrying Maya Ellison to the Crestwood Central Police Department, where neon lights flickered as if mocking justice. Maya sat in the back, the cold cuffs biting into her wrists, but her gaze remained icy, taking in every detail through the window. Derek Larson drove, occasionally glancing at her in the rearview mirror, his smug smile never fading. Colin Hayes sat beside him, toying with a fake bag of white powder, chuckling as if he'd just won a high-stakes bet. "You're tough, aren't you?" Derek said, his tone mocking. "But you'll soften up soon enough, like all the others." Maya didn't respond, staring straight ahead, her mind dissecting the situation. Their confidence wasn't random. It was a product of a rotten system. The Crestwood Central Police Department, 5 miles from the intersection where Maya was stopped, was a hub of a corrupt network that Derek and Colin had operated like seasoned artists. Over the past 8 years, they had framed countless innocents, particularly targeting people of color, with fabricated charges ranging from drug possession to resisting arrest. Reports were pre-written, evidence discovered at just the right moment, and witnesses disappeared through threats or bribes. Derek, with his smooth-talking charm and ties to city officials, always ensured everything was clean. Colin, brash and boastful, handled the dirty theatrics, like planting the bag of white powder in Maya's trunk. They believed the system would shield them, as it had dozens of times before. As the patrol car stopped in front of the station, Derek yanked Maya out, shoving her harder than necessary. "Welcome to our stage," he said, winking at Colin. As they entered, an officer munching on a donut fumbled his coffee cup, spilling it across the floor. "Damn it! Another mess to clean," he grumbled, prompting laughter from a few others. Derek clapped the officer's shoulder, joking, "Leave it. We got better entertainment tonight." Maya, led down the hallway, took in every detail. The officer's indifference, their carefree laughter, and an atmosphere more like a clubhouse than a law enforcement agency. Within Maya, a mix of contempt and resolve surged. She'd seen corruption in many places, but Derek and Colin's brazenness made her blood boil. They didn't just abuse power, they turned innocents into victims to cement their dominance. She recalled Mission Abroad, where she'd faced similar men and turned the tables. Here in Crestwood, she would do the same. As Colin shoved her into a holding cell, he laughed loudly. "Get comfortable, lady. This is your new home." Maya sat on the metal bench, her gaze fixed on him. "Not for long," she whispered, too soft for him to hear, but firm enough to remind herself. Their system might be strong, but Maya Ellison was a CIA operative, and she knew how to dismantle networks like this. The door of the holding cell at the Crestwood Central Police Department slammed shut behind Maya Ellison with a cold clank, leaving her in a cramped space lit by dim fluorescent light. Colin Hayes lingered outside, his triumphant grin like that of an actor who'd nailed a perfect scene. Maya sat on the metal bench, her back straight, her eyes unwavering. Outside, Derek Larson's laughter and the officer's banter echoed, punctuated by another joke about the spilled coffee. But in Maya's heart, there was no room for panic. Only the icy focus forged through countless dangerous CIA missions. Maya knew she was ensnared in a corrupt web, but she betrayed not a flicker of fear. Her calm was her weapon, honed over a decade facing foes far more dangerous than Derek and Colin. She scanned the room, an outdated camera in the corner, likely unmaintained, and a small window 6 feet up, letting in faint light from Crestwood. She hadn't resisted when cuffed or argued when led here. Every move was deliberate. She was playing a chess game, and her next move had to be precise. With a slow motion, she brushed the hem of her jacket, where a tiny CIA-grade tracking device was hidden. A subtle press, unnoticed by anyone, sent a signal to her team hundreds of miles away. They would come, but Maya knew she needed time to weaken the enemy from within. Just as Maya activated the device, a loud crash echoed from the hallway, making her pause. A clumsy officer had dropped a tray of files, paper scattering everywhere. "Damn it! Who left this tray here?" he shouted, sparking raucous laughter from his colleagues. But among the scattered papers, Maya glimpsed an old report bearing Derek Larson's name as it fluttered past the cell door. In those fleeting seconds, her sharp eyes caught it. A similar arrest, also with drugs conveniently found. This coincidence was a gift, reinforcing her suspicions about the scale of corruption here. She allowed herself a discreet smile, a thrill of excitement stirring. They had no idea who they were up against. In her heart, Maya felt a smoldering fire. She wasn't just fighting for herself, but for every innocent victim of Derek and Colin's schemes. Recalling a mission abroad where she'd exposed a similar network, she vowed Crestwood would be no different. As the laughter in the hallway faded, Maya closed her eyes, not to rest, but to focus. The device was active. Her team was on their way. Derek and Colin thought they held the upper hand, but Maya Ellison, CIA operative, was ready to turn the tables. And this drama was only just beginning. In the chilly holding cell of the Crestwood Central Police Department, Maya Ellison sat motionless, her sharp eyes veiled by a calm exterior. The echo of scattered papers and the clumsy shouts from the hallway, when an officer dropped a tray of files, still lingered in her mind. The fleeting glimpse of a report bearing Derek Larson's name was a small clue, but enough to fuel her resolve. She knew her CIA team had received the signal from her tracking device, but time was the enemy, and she needed the cracks in Crestwood's corrupt system to widen before they arrived. Outside, the station buzzed with chatter and laughter, but one person was uneasy. Noah Bennett, a 24-year-old rookie officer. Noah, with his tousled brown hair and eyes full of ideals, stood behind the processing desk, the computer screen's glow illuminating his tense face. Only 6 months into the job, Noah always strove to do right, but Maya Ellison's arrest unsettled him. Derek Larson and Colin Hayes' report about her drug bust was too perfect, almost rehearsed, and their smug demeanor as they brought her in didn't feel like law enforcement. Noah recalled Maya's calm gaze as she was cuffed. No fear, no anger, just an eerie confidence. "She doesn't seem like a criminal," he muttered, scrolling to the report on his screen. As Noah read, a careless colleague bumped into his desk, spilling a cup of water onto the keyboard. "Oh, man, Noah, sorry," the officer exclaimed, grabbing a towel to wipe it up, sparking laughter across the area. Noah, blushing, mumbled, "It's fine," but his eyes stayed glued to the screen. A colleague's teasing remark, "You look like you're about to crack a big case," unwittingly hit the core of his unease. He secretly pulled up old files on Derek and Colin, uncovering a pattern of similar arrests, minor traffic stops escalating to drug discoveries, mostly targeting people of color. His heart raced. This was no coincidence. A battle raged within Noah, raised in Crestwood. He believed police were heroes, but now he felt trapped between loyalty and conscience. He thought of his grandmother, who'd spoken of injustices she'd witnessed, and shame crept in at the idea he might be enabling the same. Glancing toward the holding cell, he pictured Maya sitting there and wondered, if she's innocent, what am I doing? He didn't yet know she was a CIA operative, but his doubt was the first spark in the station's darkness. At the edge of the processing area, Derek and Colin strolled in, laughing loudly, joking about their easy win. Noah quickly closed the files, his heart pounding. "Hey, Bennett, why so tense?" Colin teased, slapping his shoulder. Noah forced a smile, but his eyes flicked over them, brimming with suspicion. He didn't know what to do yet, but his unease was growing, like a fire ready to ignite. In the cell, though Maya couldn't see it, she sensed a subtle shift in the air. She smiled discreetly. The system of Derek and Colin was wavering, and she would ensure its collapse. The Crestwood Central Police Department buzzed that morning, but Noah Bennett, the young officer, felt caught in an invisible storm. After Derek Larson and Colin Hayes clapped his shoulder with smug grins, Noah sat back at his desk, his heart thumping. His doubts about Maya Ellison's arrest were no longer vague. They were a fire burning in his chest. The perfect report by Derek and Colin, paired with the similar arrests he'd secretly reviewed, haunted him. He glanced toward the holding cell where Maya was detained, her calm eyes from a night before vivid in his mind. She wasn't scared, he thought, and it made him question what he was afraid of. Noah, his hands trembling slightly, reopened his computer, covertly digging into Derek and Colin's case files. The screen displayed dozens of incidents, minor traffic violations, discovered, drugs, victims almost always people of color, from West Crestwood to 14th Street. Each report was eerily similar, as if copied from a single script. His stomach churned. This wasn't justice. It was a pattern of crime. But he knew that if caught, his career, even his safety, could be at risk. Derek and Colin weren't just colleagues. They were wolves in the pack, shielded by a rotten system. A battle raged within Noah. He recalled his grandmother's words about standing against injustice, no matter the cost. He thought of Maya, likely sitting in the 8-foot-long holding cell, awaiting the justice he could help deliver. With a shaky breath, Noah opened a secure email channel, his fingers dancing over the keyboard. He attached the suspicious files on Derek and Colin, typing a brief line. "Something's wrong at the Crestwood Police Department. Please investigate." He didn't know where the email would land, a federal agency, a journalist, or nowhere, but he hit send, feeling as if he'd thrown a stone into the dark. When the screen flashed sent, Noah exhaled, sweat beading on his forehead. He glanced at Derek and Colin, laughing loudly in the break room, oblivious of the storm his action had unleashed. In the holding cell, though Maya couldn't see it, she sensed a subtle shift in the air. She sat upright, a discreet smile forming. Her tracking device was active, and now, an unexpected ally had emerged. Her chess game was tilting in her favor. The stillness in the holding cell at the Crestwood Central Police Department seemed to hum with invisible currents. Maya Ellison, perched on the metal bench, her sharp eyes veiled by a calm facade, knew her side team had received her tracking signal. Hundreds of miles away, Noah Bennett's email, exposing Derek and Colin, had reached the right hands. In a discreet office in central Ohio, Maya's CIA team, coordinating with the FBI, sprang into action. A net was closing in, and Derek and Colin, joking in the station's break room, remained clueless. That morning, the Crestwood Central Police Department buzzed with its usual nonchalance. Noah, after sending the email, sat frozen at his desk, heart pounding, trying to mask his anxiety as Derek passed by, clapping his shoulder with a quip. "Hey, Bennett, you look like you've seen a ghost." Laughter from a spilled donut tray incident still filled the room, but Noah couldn't muster a smile. He glanced toward the holding cell, wondering if his reckless act would make a difference. Unbeknownst to him, 10 miles away, a black sedan parked outside an unmarked building, where FBI Special Agent Ethan Caldwell, 48, reviewed Noah's email alongside Maya's tracking signal. The station's front doors burst open as Ethan and his FBI team stormed in, the main door swinging with a louder-than-intended bang when an agent collided with a coat rack, sending a cascade of honorary badges clattering to the floor. The metallic clinks echoed through the lobby, startling every officer. Someone shouted, "Who knocked that over? This is an action movie." Laughter erupted but died quickly as Ethan, in a black suit with a steely gaze, approached the front desk, flashing his FBI badge. "We need full access to all records in the holding area immediately," he said, his voice low but commanding. Derek and Colin, standing nearby, exchanged panicked glances, the smiles vanishing from their faces. Ethan led the team into a cramped interrogation room, where agents hooked up a mobile server. Sifting through the department's data archive, they uncovered duplicate reports, security camera footage showing Derek clutching a bag of white powder before inspecting Maya's car, and an audio recording from her device capturing Colin's boast about an easy job. Each discovery was a puzzle piece, painting a vivid picture of Derek and Colin's corruption. Deep within Ethan, a sense of justice stirred. He'd seen men like them across America, but this time they wouldn't slip away. In her holding cell, Maya sensed a shift in the air, though she couldn't see the FBI team. She smiled subtly, knowing her plan was taking shape. Noah, from his desk, watched the chaos unfold as the FBI stormed in, a mix of relief and fear washing over him. He had lit the spark, and now that spark was spreading, poised to burn down the corrupt network within Crestwood Central Police Department. The atmosphere in Crestwood Central Police Department grew stifling after Ethan Caldwell, 48, and his FBI team burst in with dramatic flair, knocking over a badge rack in a comical clatter. The laughter faded quickly as Ethan demanded access to records, leaving officers, including Derek and Colin, frozen in place. From his desk, Noah Bennett watched Derek and Colin being escorted to the interrogation room, their eyes now betraying panic. In the holding cell, Maya Ellison, though unable to witness the commotion, felt the shift. Her plan was reaching its climax. In the narrow interrogation room, Derek and Colin sat across from Ethan, the metal table between them like a line dividing arrogance from ruin. Ethan, stern-faced, slammed a thick file onto the table, the thud ringing like a death knell. "Shall we begin?" he asked, his voice low but sharp. Derek tried to maintain his confidence, smirking. "What's this about? We're just doing our jobs." Colin, usually brash, sat silent, his hands clenched under the table. Ethan didn't reply. Instead, he opened his laptop and played a security camera video. The footage was clear. Derek holding a bag of white powder, planting it in Maya's trunk before the search. Colin, pale, muttering, "No way." When Ethan switched to the audio, the laptop unexpectedly played the wrong file. A lively 90s pop song blared, startling everyone. "Damn it, who saved this in here?" a young agent exclaimed, scrambling to stop it, prompting awkward chuckles from his colleagues. Ethan, unfazed, raised an eyebrow. "Seems you boys like drama. Let me show you this." He played the real recording, Colin's voice bragging. "This job's a piece of cake. She's not getting out." Derek, face flushed, slammed the table. "That's fake," he shouted, but his trembling voice lacked conviction. Ethan flipped open a file, listing dozens of similar arrests by Derek and Colin, from 14th Street to Crestwood's west side, all following a pattern: black victims, drugs suddenly found. Each piece of evidence was a hammer blow, shattering their facade of arrogance. Colin, unable to take it, buried his face in his hands, mumbling, "We were just following routine." Derek, clinging to defiance, stared blankly. Ethan leaned forward, his voice icy. "Your routine is corruption, and it ends today." Outside in the hallway, Noah stood silently, hearing the arguments echo from the interrogation room. Relief mixed with fear. He'd set the storm in motion with his email. In her cell, Maya sat upright, a subtle smile on her lips. She didn't need to see Derek and Colin's downfall. She knew they'd lost. The FBI's evidence, combined with Noah's courage, had dismantled their network. Crestwood Central Police Department, once a stage for injustice, was now trembling, and Maya, still behind bars, held victory firmly in her grasp. The interrogation room door at Crestwood Central Police Department closed, but the echo of Derek and Colin's mental collapse seemed to shake the entire building. The FBI's irrefutable evidence, videos, recordings, files, had crushed their every excuse. Noah Bennett stood in the hallway, a mix of relief and nervous anticipation washing over him as he saw Derek and Colin handcuffed, their eyes now filled with despair. In the holding cell, Maya Ellison, 34, stood as an FBI agent opened the door, offering a faint smile. "You're free," he said. Maya stepped out, head held high, ready to witness justice served. 3 months later, Hawthorne District Court, 2 miles from the police station, was packed to the brim. Prosecutor Lauren Torres, 41, presented the case with razor-sharp precision, listing dozens of charges against Derek and Colin. Evidence tampering, abuse of power, racial discrimination. The video of Derek planting the bag of white powder in Maya's car. Colin's boastful audio and records of dozens of unjust arrests were displayed, leaving the jury in stunned silence. Judge Evelyn Harper, 62, with a stern voice, delivered a verdict. Derek received 15 years in prison, Colin 12. The courtroom erupted in applause. Crestwood residents embraced, tears streaming down their faces as justice finally prevailed. Cases tied to Derek and Colin were reopened, freeing dozens of innocent people once framed in West Crestwood and along 14th Street. Maya, fully exonerated, didn't seek the spotlight, but her story spread, turning her into a symbol of resilience. The press dubbed her the woman who defeated corruption, though she quietly resumed her work as a CIA agent. In Maya's heart, pride mingled with sorrow. She knew more battles awaited. Golden afternoon sunlight bathed a small park in Crestwood, Ohio, where Maya Ellison stood quietly, watching children play after leaving Hawthorne District Court. She thought of the innocent people freed because of this case, and a rare smile crossed her lips. Derek and Colin had paid their price, but the real victory was the restoration of faith. The conviction of Derek Larson, 40, and Colin Hayes, 37, was not just her personal triumph, but a flame igniting hope across the city. The scandal had shaken Crestwood's Central Police Department, forcing the city to act. In the months that followed, sweeping reforms were implemented. Body cameras became mandatory, an independent oversight committee was established, and anti-racism training programs were rolled out across Crestwood's 50-square-mile region. Community trust, once shattered by corruption, began to mend. Residents of West Crestwood, who once feared the police, now attended meetings at the community center on 14th Street, sharing stories and demanding justice. Noah Bennett, 24, became a symbol of courage, inspiring younger officers to speak out against injustice. Despite wary glances from a few colleagues, Noah stood firm, knowing his whistleblowing email had changed Crestwood forever. Local newspapers shifted from scandal headlines to stories of progress, an officer saving a life in a crash on I-70, or a successful police community program. Maya, with a small suitcase in hand, prepared for her next mission, but Crestwood had left a deep mark on her. She didn't chase fame, but her story, a black woman who toppled a rotten system, resonated powerfully. Courage and perseverance could break down walls of injustice. The lesson she left Crestwood was clear. Justice doesn't come on its own. It requires people like Noah to stand up and people like her to fight in the shadows. As she stepped into a black SUV, her gaze sweeping Crestwood's skyline, Maya smiled, knowing the city was now different. In the twilight, Crestwood Central Police Department stood quietly, no longer a fortress of corruption, but the start of hope. Maya drove off, her phone buzzing with the voice of Agent Ethan Caldwell, 48. "Ready for the next mission?" "Always," she replied, her voice steady. As Crestwood faded in her rear-view mirror, Maya carried a belief that every battle, no matter how small, helped build a fairer world. She left, but the legacy of courage and justice she left behind would echo forever, inspiring those who dare to stand for truth.